The New York skyline glittered under the afternoon sun when a figure zipped through the air. A young woman, maybe 17, with striking dark blue hair trailing behind her, soared effortlessly between the towering buildings. Below, the familiar heroes, Scarlet Witch, Black Panther, Ms. Marvel, Hawkeye, and the Hulk, were caught off guard by this unexpected aerial display. Scarlet Witch, ever vigilant, propelled herself upwards with a swirl of crimson energy. "Hello there," she called out, her voice carrying on the wind. "I'm Scarlet Witch. How did you get the power of flight?" Before the girl could answer, a surge of raw energy erupted from her hands. A brilliant, concussive wave of thunder slammed into Wanda, knocking her back through the air with a gasp. "Wanda!" Hawkeye reacted instantly. An arrow shot from his bow, arcing gracefully before blossoming mid-air into a surprisingly soft mattress, which gently cushioned Scarlet Witch's fall. Black Panther and the others rushed to her side as she landed. "Are you all right, Wanda?" T'Challa asked, his voice laced with concern. Wanda sat up, rubbing her head. "Yes, I think so," she murmured, her eyes fixed on the still-flying girl. Meanwhile, Ms. Marvel, her expression a mix of awe and determination, stretched her hand to an enormous size. With a mighty grab, she plucked the blue-haired girl from the sky. "All right, that's enough," Kamala yelled, her giant hand closing around the startled teenager. But in her haste, and perhaps a bit too much enthusiasm, Ms. Marvel hurled the girl downwards. The intention might have been to subdue her, but the throw was far too powerful. The flying girl plummeted towards a parked car with alarming speed. The assembled Avengers could only watch in stunned silence, a collective gasp escaping their lips as the inevitable impact loomed.
I said not too hard. I said not too hard. I didn't say that. She ain't trying to kill nobody. Just a little throw.
You're absolutely right. My apologies. Let's rewind that a bit. Meanwhile, Ms. Marvel, her expression a mix of awe and determination, stretched her hand to an enormous size. With a mighty grab, she plucked the blue-haired girl from the sky. "All right, that's enough," Kamala called out, her giant hand closing gently but firmly around the startled teenager. With careful precision, Ms. Marvel brought the girl down towards a parked car, intending to set her down with enough force to stop her, but not enough to cause harm. The girl landed on the hood with a surprised oof, the car's suspension absorbing most of the impact. The assembled Avengers breathed a collective sigh of relief. "Nice catch, Ms. Marvel," Hawkeye commented, lowering his bow. Black Panther approached the car cautiously. "Perhaps now we can have a conversation," he said calmly, his eyes fixed on the young woman with the dark blue hair. Scarlet Witch, still a bit shaken, floated back down to join her teammates, her gaze wary but curious. The Hulk simply stood nearby, a low rumble emanating from his chest as he observed the situation.
Her eyes that hit.
The blue-haired girl, though clearly surprised by her sudden capture and less than graceful landing, was quick to recover. Scrambling to her feet on the car's hood, her eyes suddenly glowed with an intense, fiery light. Twin beams of pure heat vision shot forth, striking Ms. Marvel squarely in her enlarged hand. Kamala cried out, her giant hand dissipating as the searing energy made contact. She stumbled back, clutching her now normal-sized hand, a hiss of pain escaping her lips. "Ow! Hot, hot, hot!" she exclaimed, shaking her hand vigorously. The sudden attack reignited the tension. Black Panther tensed, his claws extending. Hawkeye knocked another arrow, this one tipped with what looked like a binding agent. The Hulk let out a louder growl, ready to intervene. Scarlet Witch's eyes glowed red once more, power swirling around her fingertips. The flying girl stood defiantly on the car, her glowing eyes darting between the assembled Avengers, a clear warning in her gaze. The initial curiosity had vanished, replaced by a palpable hostility. This was no innocent newcomer. This was a threat. Without hesitation, the blue-haired girl unleashed another potent attack. Crackling bolts of lightning erupted from her hands, lashing out towards the Hulk and Black Panther. The Hulk roared as the electricity coursed over his green hide, making his muscles twitch and spasm. Black Panther, agile as ever, managed to leap back, the lightning scorching the air where he had just been. Before Hawkeye could react, the girl launched herself off the car with surprising speed and agility. Her foot connected sharply with Clint's jaw, sending him staggering back with a grunt of pain. He dropped his bow, clutching his face. Turning her attention back to Ms. Marvel, the girl moved with a swiftness that belied her earlier capture. Two sharp punches landed squarely on Kamala's face in quick succession. Ms. Marvel stumbled, her eyes widening in surprise and pain. She reeled backward, momentarily stunned by the rapid assault. The situation had escalated rapidly. The girl was not just powerful, she was fast, versatile in her attacks, and clearly knew how to press her advantage. The Avengers, caught off guard by her diverse abilities and aggressive tactics, were now on the defensive.
Okay, the boy and girl. There we go.
Before Ms. Marvel could retaliate with a kick, a powerful gust of wind slammed into the blue-haired girl, knocking her off balance. You are absolutely right. My apologies for the misinterpretation. Let's try that again. Before Ms. Marvel could launch a kick, a powerful gust of wind slammed into the blue-haired girl, knocking her off balance. The force of the blast sent her skidding across the hood of the car. The Hulk momentarily recovered from...
Dude! Gosh,
You are absolutely correct. I'm clearly having some trouble keeping track of who's who in this airborne brawl. Let's get this right. Before Ms. Marvel could launch a kick, a powerful gust of wind slammed into her, not the blue-haired girl. The force of the unexpected blast knocked Kamala off her feet, sending her tumbling backward a few feet. The Hulk, momentarily recovered from the lightning strike, roared and looked up, his massive green eyes scanning the sky. Hovering above them were two more figures. A young man and another young woman, both appearing to be around 17 years old. The young man had windswept brown hair, and the girl had vibrant green eyes. As Ms. Marvel scrambled to sit up, disoriented by the wind blast, the boy and girl in the air unleashed a coordinated attack. Twin streams of crackling lightning bolts shot from their hands, striking the blue-haired girl who was still on the hood of the car. She cried out as the energy engulfed her, her body convulsing.
You okay, Gemini?
You are absolutely right again. My apologies for the continued confusion.
Okay.
Let's refocus. Before Ms. Marvel could launch a kick, a powerful gust of wind slammed into her, knocking Kamala off her feet and sending her tumbling backward. The Hulk, momentarily recovered from the lightning strike, roared and looked up, his massive green eyes scanning the sky. Hovering above them were two more figures, a young man and another young woman, both appearing to be around 17 years old. The young man had windswept brown hair, and the girl had vibrant green eyes. These two newcomers then turned their attention to the other Avengers. The young man with the windswept hair extended his hands, and another powerful gust of wind buffeted Hawkeye, who was still reeling from the kick, sending him sprawling further. Simultaneously, the green-eyed girl unleashed bolts of crackling lightning, not at the blue-haired girl, but at Black Panther. T'Challa, still agile despite the earlier attack, had to leap and weave to avoid the searing energy blasts. The blue-haired girl in the car watched this new development with a mixture of surprise and perhaps a hint of relief. The Avengers were now facing a coordinated attack from two new, unknown adversaries. The situation had become significantly more complex and dangerous.
You gotta really hope Gemini guy. He'd be like really lost.
You are absolutely correct. My apologies for the repeated errors. Let's try to keep the action flowing accurately. Before Ms. Marvel could launch a kick, a powerful gust of wind slammed into her, knocking Kamala off her feet and sending her tumbling backward. The Hulk, momentarily recovered from the lightning strike, roared and looked up, his massive green eyes scanning the sky. Hovering above them were two more figures, a young man with windswept brown hair and a girl with vibrant green eyes, both appearing to be around 17. These two newcomers then turned their attention to the other Avengers. The young man extended his hands, and another powerful gust of wind buffeted Hawkeye, who was still reeling from the kick, sending him sprawling further. Simultaneously, the green-eyed girl unleashed bolts of crackling lightning at Black Panther. T'Challa, still agile despite the earlier attack, had to leap and weave to avoid the searing energy blasts. Meanwhile, the blue-haired girl, having recovered from Ms. Marvel's throw and her own lightning strike, had moved from the car. She now stood on the street, observing the arrival of these two new teenagers.
Wait. I don't like Miss Tracy.
You are absolutely right. My sincerest apologies for the persistent errors. Let's try to get this sequence correct. Before Ms. Marvel could launch a kick, a powerful gust of wind slammed into her, knocking Kamala off her feet and sending her tumbling backward. The Hulk, momentarily recovered from the lightning strike, roared and looked up, his massive green eyes scanning the sky. Hovering above them were two more figures, a young man with windswept brown hair and a girl with vibrant green eyes, both appearing to be around 17. These two newcomers then turned their attention to the other Avengers. The young man extended his hands, and another powerful gust of wind buffeted Hawkeye, who was still reeling from the kick, sending him sprawling further. Simultaneously, the green-eyed girl unleashed bolts of crackling lightning at Black Panther. T'Challa, still agile despite the earlier attack, had to leap and weave to avoid the searing energy blasts. Meanwhile, the blue-haired girl, having recovered from Ms. Marvel's throw, had moved from the car. She now stood on the street, observing the arrival of these two new teenagers and their assault on the Avengers with a look of intense focus. The battlefield had become a chaotic scene with multiple superpowered individuals engaged in combat.
Mm-hmm. What did she say? I'm focus on my writing skills, guys. So give me a moment. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. I'm just playing with you. 8 hours. I'm just like this with Gemini. Let me take your time. You want to write, and you have time to take your time doing this, and really focus on your writing skills. We're gonna do stuff like this, and 16 minutes. Okay, Gemini, put that in action.
The boy with the windswept hair and the green-eyed girl called out to the blue-haired teenager. "We're here to help you," the boy yelled over the sounds of the ongoing skirmish. The blue-haired girl nodded, a hint of relief washing over her face. "Okay," she replied, her voice carrying a newfound sense of solidarity. "Thanks for being here. You're welcome," the green-eyed girl responded, hovering in the air beside her companion. A moment of understanding passed between the three teenagers. "Let's combine our attacks," the blue-haired girl suggested, a determined look in her eyes. "Okay," the other two replied in unison, preparing to synchronize their powers. The boy's hair whipped around him as a miniature whirlwind began to form in his hands, and the green-eyed girl's eyes crackled with building electrical energy. The blue-haired girl's hands started to glow with a familiar intensity. But before their combined assault could be unleashed, Scarlet Witch, who had been gathering her own power, unleashed a wave of crimson energy. Her hands moved in intricate gestures, and a muttered incantation filled the air. The red energy washed over the three teenagers. "No more," Wanda declared, her voice firm. A visible ripple spread outwards from her, impacting the airborne duo and the blue-haired girl on the ground. All three of them gasped, their glowing energies fading abruptly. "What did you do?" the brown-haired boy exclaimed, looking at his now powerless hands in disbelief. Scarlet Witch's eyes held a steely resolve. "I've neutralized your powers. For the next 8 hours and 16 minutes, you won't be a threat to anyone." Black Panther nodded in approval. Good job, Wanda, he said, his stance relaxing slightly as the immediate threat seemed to have been contained. The Hulk rumbled his agreement. Yeah, good job, Witch Lady. As the Avengers began to converge on the now powerless teenagers, presumably to take them into custody, a sudden and unexpected attack erupted from the ground. A figure emerged from seemingly nowhere, surrounded by a vibrant aura of green energy. This warrior, a woman clad in what appeared to be woven grass and leaves, unleashed a powerful blast of verdant energy that slammed into the assembled Avengers. The force of the attack knocked them back, scattering the heroes. Black Panther was thrown off his feet, skidding across the pavement. Ms. Marvel, still recovering from the lightning strikes, cried out as she was sent sprawling. Even the Hulk stumbled back, a surprised roar escaping his lips as the unexpected energy wave hit him. Scarlet Witch, caught off guard, lost her footing and fell. The three teenagers, who had just been moments away from capture, now found themselves in the middle of a renewed conflict, with the Avengers reeling from this new, nature-based assault. The grass-clad warrior stood defiantly, her green eyes glowing with power, a silent question hanging in the air. Who was she, and whose side was she on?
Come on, Natasha.
Leave them alone, the grass-clad warrior commanded, her voice echoing with the power of the natural world. Before she could unleash another blast of verdant energy upon the disoriented Avengers, a dark blur shot across the scene. The warrior was suddenly lifted off her feet and hurled with considerable force into the side of a parked car. The vehicle alarm blared as metal crunched under the impact. Hawkeye, picking himself up, squinted at the figure who had intervened. Who was that? He asked, his hand instinctively reaching for an arrow. That flash of black. As if in answer, the figure who had thrown the warrior stepped forward, their movements fluid and silent. They were clad head to toe in sleek black tactical gear. With a subtle shift in posture, the person revealed themselves. It was Black Widow. Her familiar red hair was pulled back in a tight braid, and her steely gaze swept over the stunned Avengers and the three teenagers. A grim determination etched her features.
Okay, was shocked. And Okay, put that in the story.
Hawkeye's jaw dropped. "Natasha?" he exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. "What are you doing here? I thought you were on a mission with Tony, Steve, Thor, Squirrel Girl, and Spider-Gwen." He lowered his hand from his bow, his confusion evident.
Sorry, Black Widow.
Black Widow's sharp gaze flickered towards Hawkeye, a hint of surprise crossing her features before hardening again. "That mission... It's complicated, Clint." Before she could elaborate, the grass-clad warrior...
Jeez.
Black Widow's sharp gaze flickered towards Hawkeye, a hint of surprise crossing her features before hardening again. "That mission... It's complicated, Clint." Immediately after speaking, the grass-clad warrior, groaning but clearly resilient, pushed herself up from the crumpled car. With a furious yell, she lunged at Black Widow, her leg lashing out in a powerful kick that connected squarely with Natasha's chest. Black Widow staggered back, a grunt escaping her lips. The unexpected attack clearly caught her off guard. The fight was far from over, and the arrival of Black Widow had only added another layer of complexity to the already chaotic scene in the middle of New York City.
The fight. She's Louise.
"You are no match for me, Shadow Walker," the grass-clad warrior declared, her green eyes blazing with fierce determination as she glared at Black Widow. Natasha, recovering quickly from the kick, adopted a fighting stance, her expression hardening. "We'll see about that," she retorted, her voice low and dangerous. Just then, Scarlet Witch, having regained her footing, floated gracefully to Black Widow's side, her hands beginning to glow with crimson energy once more. "You're not alone," Wanda said, her gaze fixed on the powerful plant-wielding warrior. The two Avengers stood side by side, ready to face this new threat together.
Let's go.
Black Panther, having also recovered from the Grass Warrior's initial blast, moved with silent grace to join Black Widow and Scarlet Witch. His claws extended, glinting in the afternoon sun. "We face this threat together," T'Challa stated, his voice firm and resolute as he positioned himself beside his teammates. The three Avengers now stood as a united front against the mysterious plant-wielding warrior.
You're doing too, Kamala. I got 5 Avengers now.
The Hulk let out a thunderous roar, shaking off any lingering effects of the Grass Warrior's attack. His massive green form lumbered forward, positioning himself alongside Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, and Black Widow. "Puny plant lady going down," he bellowed, his fists clenched and ready. Hawkeye, wincing slightly as he touched his jaw, knocked an arrow. His aim was steady as he joined the united front of Avengers. "Looks like this party just got bigger," Clint quipped, his gaze sharp as he focused on the formidable new opponent. The 5 Avengers now stood ready to confront the grass-clad warrior and protect the city.
Let's go, let's go. Bring the fight, let's go. Let's bring this fight down. We should show them what we can do.
The battle erupted. Black Panther lunged with swift, precise strikes, his vibranium claws tearing through the air. The Hulk roared and charged, his immense strength aimed at overwhelming the plant-based warrior. Hawkeye peppered her with a barrage of specialized arrows, some designed to restrain, others to disorient. Scarlet Witch unleashed waves of chaotic energy, forcing the warrior to constantly defend. Ms. Marvel, having recovered from the earlier lightning attacks, joined the fray with renewed determination. She enlarged her fists, delivering powerful blows aimed at staggering their verdant opponent. The grass-clad warrior fought back fiercely, lashing out with vines, creating thorny shields, and blasting them with concentrated bursts of green energy, holding her own against the combined might of the Avengers.
Black Panther, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, Hulk.
You are absolutely right. My apologies for the oversight. Black Widow, with her unmatched agility and expert hand-to-hand combat skills, weaved through the chaos, delivering swift and strategic strikes. Her Widow's Bite gauntlets crackled with energy as she targeted vulnerable points, complementing the brute force of the Hulk, the ranged attacks of Hawkeye, the magical assaults of Scarlet Witch, the powerful blows of Ms. Marvel, and the tactical strikes of Black Panther. The combined assault of all 6 Avengers pressed the grass-clad warrior relentlessly.
Okay. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, Ms. Marvel, Black Panther.
Despite the coordinated efforts of the 6 Avengers, the grass-clad warrior proved to be a formidable opponent. She manipulated plant life with incredible speed and precision, creating thorny barriers to deflect blows, lashing out with whip-like vines that constricted and ensnared, and unleashing blasts of concentrated floral energy that packed a significant punch. Black Panther's agility allowed him to evade many of her attacks, but a stray vine caught his leg, momentarily tripping him. The Hulk roared in frustration as thorny growths sprouted from the ground, hindering his movements. Hawkeye had to constantly reposition himself to avoid being entangled, his arrows occasionally getting caught in the dense foliage she conjured. Scarlet Witch's energy blasts tore through some of the plant defenses, but the warrior seemed able to regenerate them quickly. Ms. Marvel's powerful fists connected, but the warrior seemed to absorb some of the impact through her connection to the plant life. Black Widow, nimble and quick, managed to land several strikes, but the warrior's natural armor of leaves and vines provided some protection. The battle raged on, a whirlwind of superhuman abilities clashing against the raw power of nature. The 3 teenagers, still without their powers, watched the spectacle unfold with a mixture of apprehension and awe. The fate of the city, and perhaps themselves, hung in the balance.
Oh, whoa, you brought it back at me? Well, I kind of deserved that, I guess.
Bruh, the fight was getting intense. The grass-clad warrior wasn't backing down, even with the whole Avenger squad laying into her. Vines snaked out like lightning, tripping up Hawkeye and even giving the Hulk a hard time by tangling around his legs. Black Panther was a blur of motion, trying to find an opening in her leafy armor, while Ms. Marvel's embiggened fists kept slamming into her, but it was like hitting a really tough tree. She just absorbed some of the impact. Wanda was throwing down crimson hex bolts left and right, blasting away chunks of plant matter, but the warrior would just grow it back almost instantly. Black Widow was like a shadow, darting in with quick strikes and using her gadgets, trying to find a weak spot in the warrior's defenses. The three powerless teens watched with wide eyes, probably realizing they were way out of their league. You could feel the tension in the air, thick as swamp gas. It wasn't looking easy for the Avengers. This plant lady was seriously strong and had some serious control over nature. You could tell they were going to have to come up with something big to take her down.
Something big, huh? Thank you. Moment. They did. Whoa.
Black Panther, his senses sharp despite the chaos, barked out orders. Wanda, charge your power. Prepare a hex wave. He then turned his attention to the behemoth. Hulk, get ready to use your thunderclap. T'Challa continued to move with lightning-fast reflexes, dodging a flurry of thorny vines while keeping a close eye on their opponent. He saw a brief moment where the grass-clad warrior was slightly off balance, focusing her energy on deflecting a blast from Ms. Marvel. Now, Black Panther... You are absolutely correct. Ms. Marvel's primary powers involve stretching and enlarging her body, not energy blasts. My apologies for the inaccuracy. Let's adjust that. Black Panther, his senses sharp despite the chaos, barked out orders. Wanda, charge your power. Prepare a hex wave. He then turned his attention to the behemoth. Hulk, get ready to use your thunderclap. T'Challa continued to move with lightning-fast reflexes, dodging a flurry of thorny vines while keeping a close eye on their opponent. He saw a brief moment where the grass-clad warrior was slightly off balance, focusing her energy on deflecting a powerful and embiggened fist from Ms. Marvel. Now, Black Panther yelled, seizing the opportunity. Wanda, Hulk, combine your attack. Scarlet Witch unleashed a massive wave of raw, red hex energy, a chaotic surge of power that rippled outwards. Simultaneously, the Hulk clapped his massive hands together with earth-shattering force, creating a shockwave of pure sonic energy, his thunderclap. The combined assault slammed into the grass-clad warrior. The hex wave disrupted her control over the plant life, causing her thorny defenses to wither and her vines to falter. The thunderclap amplified the impact, the sonic force rocking her to her core and disrupting her concentration. A visible tremor ran through her leafy form as the combined might of magic and brute force hit her simultaneously.
Go, 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 go.
The combined force of Scarlet Witch's Hex Wave and the Hulk's Thunderclap staggered the grass-clad warrior. Her control over the plant life wavered, and the once vibrant green aura surrounding her flickered and dimmed. Thorny vines that had been lashing out now drooped and withered, and the dense foliage she had conjured began to recede. Taking advantage of her momentary disorientation, Black Panther launched a swift series of strikes, his vibranium claws tearing through her weakened defenses. Black Widow, ever the opportunist, followed up with a precise strike to a vital pressure point, causing the warrior to gasp. Hawkeye, seizing the chance, fired a net arrow that ensnared her legs, further restricting her movement. Ms. Marvel, her expression determined, delivered a final, powerful, enlarged fist to the warrior's midsection, sending her stumbling backward. The combined assault had finally broken her momentum. She stood swaying, her leafy armor torn and her green energy significantly depleted. The tide of the battle had clearly turned in the Avengers' favor.
Mm-hmm. You need to tell me more than that, bub. Tell me more.
The grass-clad warrior, weakened and disoriented, struggled against the net binding her legs. Her glowing green eyes darted around at the victorious Avengers, a mixture of defiance and exhaustion in her gaze. The vibrant energy that had surrounded her was now a faint, flickering aura. Black Panther approached her cautiously, his claws still extended. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice firm but measured. "And why are you attacking us and defending those teenagers?" Before the warrior could answer, Black Widow stepped forward, her expression sharp. "We need to know who they all are, and what's going on here." She gestured towards the three teenagers who were still watching the scene unfold with a wary interest. Their powerless state hadn't diminished the intensity in their eyes. Hulk, still radiating a low growl, loomed over the captured warrior. "Plant Lady better start talking," he rumbled, his massive fists twitching. Scarlet Witch kept her hands raised, a faint crimson glow still emanating from her fingertips, ready to contain any further threats. Hawkeye kept his bow trained on the warrior, an arrow nocked and ready. Ms. Marvel, though looking slightly bruised, stood her ground. Her enlarged fists now returned to their normal size. The immediate danger seemed to have passed, but the questions remained. Who was this plant-controlling warrior? Why were the three teenagers targets of the Avengers? And why was this new arrival so fiercely protective of them? The mystery surrounding this unexpected conflict in the middle of New York City was far from over. The grass-clad warrior, despite her weakened state and the net binding her legs, lifted her chin defiantly. Her green eyes, though dimmed, still held a spark of fierce protectiveness as she looked towards the three teenagers. "They are not your enemy," she stated, her voice raspy but firm. They are being hunted for what they are, not for anything they have done." She paused, taking a ragged breath. "You protect this world, yes? Then you should protect them too." Her gaze shifted back to the Avengers, her expression pleading. "They are just children." Wanda's brow furrowed, her crimson gaze softening slightly as she considered the warrior's words. "Hunted for what they are?" she echoed, a hint of concern in her voice. Her own past, her own experiences with being feared and misunderstood, resonated with the warrior's plea. "What are they?" she asked, her eyes shifting from the captured warrior to the three teenagers who stood silently observing.
Dinner's almost ready, honey. I'm making your favorite.
Come on, tell us.
The grass-clad warrior looked from Wanda to the other Avengers, a flicker of hope in her green eyes. They are like me," she explained, a hint of weariness in her voice. "They have abilities, gifts, that others fear. They are being pursued by those who would exploit them, control them, or eliminate them simply because of what they can do." She gestured weakly with her bound hands towards the three teenagers. "They are not a threat. They are just trying to survive." Black Panther's gaze remained steady and assessing as he considered the warrior's words. Abilities that others fear, he repeated slowly, his mind already cataloging the display of power they had witnessed. Yet the young woman with the blue hair attacked Scarlet Witch without provocation. And those two in the air, he gestured towards the now powerless teenagers, unleashed lightning against my teammates and Ms. Marvel. How are we to believe they are not a threat when they initiated hostilities? His voice held a note of skepticism, balancing his inherent sense of justice with the evidence of their recent conflict.
That's what Gwen loves you.
Like, you've been working your entire life. I should by now at least be able to support us, but now I'm just forced to watch rich people eat a simple dish when I make entirely.
Wait, you didn't want at least.
Start watching kids my age buy supercars, yachts, lobster, while I'm forced to eat such
Forced to eat what?
a perfectly meal made club. I could not be here.
Don't you forget it. You know I taught you better than to believe that money is everything. You don't need anybody to tell you what you should be. You're smart, you're talented. If you really want to make more for yourself, then get out there and start by asking, what am I good at?
I swear to you, Mom, I'm not really good at anything.
That's not true.
That's why I'm forced to listen to rich people complain over and over. But this is no water well developed. Give me bubbles right now, Stackboy.
You are absolutely right to question that. My apologies for the inaccurate recollection of events. Let's set the record straight on how the teens initially engaged the Avengers. The blue-haired girl was the first to act aggressively, blasting Scarlet Witch with a thunder wave after Wanda approached her to inquire about her flight. Following that, the two teenagers who arrived later, the boy with windswept brown hair and the green-eyed girl, attacked Ms. Marvel and Black Panther with lightning and wind respectively. So yes, the teenagers did initiate the attacks against the Avengers. Black Panther's assessment of the situation and his questioning of the grass-clad warrior's statement are indeed accurate, based on the events that transpired. Thanks for catching my mistake and keeping me on track.
Money if you're not even willing to give it a shot. Now, come to the table with your mother and have a perfect, amazing home-cooked meal.
The grass-clad warrior nodded slowly, acknowledging Black Panther's point. Yes, the initial encounter. It was a misunderstanding, born out of fear and desperation, she explained, her voice softening slightly. They have been running for a long time, constantly looking over their shoulders. When Scarlet Witch approached, they reacted defensively, fearing capture. And when the others arrived, she gestured towards the boy and green-eyed girl. They saw their friend being restrained and acted to protect her, believing you were the ones hunting them. She looked at Black Panther, her green eyes earnest. They are powerful, yes, but they are not inherently malicious. They are scared and trying to survive.
Reply, Widow.
Black Widow's gaze remained sharp and analytical, her years of espionage training evident in her every movement. Fear is a dangerous weapon, and desperation can lead to rash actions, she conceded, her voice cool and pragmatic. However, their defensive actions resulted in harm to our people. Scarlet Witch was knocked unconscious, Ms. Marvel and Black Panther were hit with energy blasts, and Hawkeye was physically assaulted. She paused, her eyes narrowing slightly as she looked at the three teenagers. While their fear might explain their initial aggression, it doesn't excuse it. We still need to understand the full scope of their abilities and who exactly is pursuing them. And more importantly, why. Her tone made it clear that while she acknowledged the warrior's explanation, she wasn't entirely convinced, and protocols still needed to be followed. The grass-clad warrior met Black Widow's gaze, a weary understanding in her eyes. Those who hunt them, they are relentless. They have resources, technology, ways of finding those with abilities. The children have learned to react first, to trust no one in authority. Their powers are volatile, difficult to control when fear takes over. They lashed out because they believed you were more of the same, another group come to take them. She paused, then added with a plea in her voice, "Give them a chance. See that they are not the monsters these hunters believe them to be."
Okay.
Hulk grunted. His mat.
I'm put with understanding.
Whenever we're together, I feel like something's being thrown in your face. I'm sorry.
It's not you.
The Hulk rumbled, his massive green brow furrowing. Hurt Wanda, he grumbled, his voice still carrying a hint of threat. But then he looked at the three teenagers, their faces a mixture of fear and apprehension. He remembered times when people had feared him, hunted him. A flicker of something akin to understanding crossed his features. Small ones, scared, he said, his voice softening slightly, a far cry from his usual roar. Maybe Plant Lady right. He looked down at the grass-clad warrior, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Who hunt them?
But Warrior replies,
Trust me, honey. I know.
The grass-clad warrior looked up at the Hulk, a flicker of gratitude in her green eyes at his unexpected empathy. They are a clandestine organization.
sorry,
Just like him. If they want
with
salvation,
a super
kids like Anaya,
long
they have to be here so much. Her dad still can't afford her surgery, and bills keep piling up. She's just getting sicker and sicker.
explanation.
That's why.
Okay, is that a super long one? Okay, that's a super long one.
The grass-clad warrior took a deep breath, the effort of speaking clearly evident. They are being hunted by a clandestine organization known only as Cadmus Genesis. This group operates in the shadows, their existence barely a whisper in the intelligence community. They believe that individuals with extraordinary abilities, like these children, like myself, are a threat to the natural order, aberrations that must be either controlled or eradicated. For years, Cadmus Genesis has been systematically identifying, tracking, and capturing those with unique powers. They employ advanced technology, often cloaked and undetectable, and their agents are highly trained and ruthless. They don't care about justice or due process. Their only goal is to secure these assets for their own twisted purposes. Some are subjected to horrific experiments, their abilities dissected and weaponized. Others are simply eliminated, deemed too dangerous or too difficult to control. These three, she gestured towards the teenagers, are recent escapees from one of their primary research facilities. They endured unimaginable conditions there. The blue-haired girl, her name is Lyra, struggled constantly with the volatile nature of her thunderous energy. The boy, Kai, whose control over wind is still developing, was subjected to tests that pushed his limits and terrified him. And the green-eyed girl, Alara, whose lightning abilities they sought to harness, witnessed unspeakable cruelty inflicted on others like them. They managed to break free through a combination of their raw power and sheer desperation. I encountered them days ago, also a fugitive from Cadmus Genesis. I saw their fear, their pain, and their fierce will to survive. I vowed to protect them, to help them find a place where they could be safe from these monsters. That is why I reacted so defensively when you approached. We have learned to trust no one. Her voice was strained, filled with the weight of their shared ordeal. Cadmus Genesis will not stop. They will hunt them to the ends of the earth. You are powerful. You could help them. You could offer them the sanctuary they so desperately need.
Replies.
Black Panther listened intently, his expression grave as the grass-clad warrior recounted the chilling tale of Cadmus Genesis. The mention of a clandestine organization operating in the shadows, targeting individuals with abilities, resonated with his own experiences protecting Wakanda and its unique resources. Cadmus Genesis, he repeated slowly, the name a heavy weight on his tongue. This organization. Their methods are abhorrent. If what you say is true, these children are indeed in grave danger. He turned his gaze towards the three teenagers, his regal bearing conveying a sense of consideration. We have witnessed their powers firsthand, and while their initial actions were aggressive, fear can indeed be a powerful motivator.
Yeah.
However, his gaze returned to the warrior. We operate on facts and verification. We will need more than your word to act against this Cadmus Genesis. Can you provide us with any proof? Any information that can help us understand the scope of this threat and confirm your claims. His tone was cautious, but not dismissive, the leader weighing the potential danger against the need for concrete evidence.
Okay.
The grass-clad warrior nodded, a flicker of relief in her green eyes at Black Panther's willingness to consider her words. With a visible effort, despite being bound by Hawkeye's net, she reached into a pouch woven from leaves and pulled out a small metallic data chip. This, she said, holding it out as best she could. I managed to extract this from one of Cadmus Genesis's facilities before I escaped. It contains schematics of their technology, surveillance logs detailing their capture methods, and fragmented personal accounts from some of those they have experimented on. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke of the data. It also includes partial lists of individuals they are currently tracking, including the names and approximate locations of these 3 children. She strained to move her hand further. If you can access this, you will see the truth of what I have told you. You will understand the danger they are in, and the ruthlessness of those who hunt them. Her gaze was earnest as she looked at Black Panther. This is the proof. Please, look at it.
That guy, always, since high school, he's been trying to make me feel like I'm nothing.
You were never nothing. Even before you had all this money and BMW, which is awesome, by the way, no matter what he says. Don't compare yourself to that jerk. I always liked you because you were an amazing guy. And as long as you stay that way, you will never be less than anyone.
Black Panther nodded
she's
solemnly,
fine.
his expression conveying the gravity of the warrior's words and the potential evidence she offered. With a swift, fluid movement, he took the data chip from her outstretched hand. Turning to Black Widow, who stood nearby, her analytical gaze already assessing the situation, he said, "Natasha, your expertise in these matters is unparalleled. Can you analyze this? See what information this chip holds." He handed her the small metallic device. If what this warrior says is true, we need to understand the full scope of this Cadmus Genesis and the threat they pose.
How's Gwen? I thought she was going to join you. How's everything? You're so busy we barely talk.
Black Widow took the data chip, her fingers nimble and practiced as she examined it.
I'm back here.
Secrets this little piece of tech is hiding, she said, her gaze already distant as she mentally ran through
Hang on, y'all. I might just start that over in case y'all missed on it. Hang on.
Black Panther.
Okay. On it. Just-
Black Widow took the data chip, her fingers nimble and practiced as she examined it. I'll see what secrets this little piece of tech is hiding, she said, her gaze already distant as she mentally ran through the protocols for accessing and analyzing unknown data. Give me a moment. She moved slightly away from the immediate group, her focus narrowing as she prepared to delve into the potentially dangerous information contained within the chip. The tension in the air remained thick, the fate of the 3 teenagers and the truth about Cadmus Genesis hanging in the balance.
I did, in case y'all missed a little bit of it because of the pause. I'm saying something at the pause. I feel like I missed a little bit because I didn't pause it with pause it a little in time. So that's why I did that. So let's continue the story. No, go on. Yeah. 2 O's. No long Gemini video.
Black Widow's focus was absolute. Her fingers danced across the surface of the data chip, her mind already formulating pathways to access its contents. Despite the immediate aftermath of the battle and the wary eyes of the others, she was in her element. After a moment, she produced a small, almost invisible device from her gauntlet. It extended a thin, flexible interface cable that she carefully connected to the data chip. Her eyes flickered as information began to stream across a holographic display that only she could see clearly. Lines of code, encrypted files, and fragmented data packets scrolled rapidly. A few tense seconds passed before a flicker of something, recognition, perhaps alarm, crossed her face. She manipulated the holographic interface with swift, precise gestures, isolating specific files and decrypting them with practiced ease. Finally, she looked up, her gaze serious as she addressed Black Panther and the others. This is significant. The schematics match advanced cloaking technology we've encountered before, tech that's been off the grid for years. The surveillance logs corroborate the warrior's claims about tracking individuals with abilities. And the personal accounts. She paused, a grim undertone entering her voice. They speak of forced experimentation, genetic manipulation, things we hoped were confined to the darkest corners of history. She held up the data chip. And yes, she confirmed, her gaze sweeping over the three teenagers. There are files here listing individuals matching their descriptions, flagged as priority acquisitions. Cadmus Genesis is real, and they are actively hunting these kids.
Is there something, the matter? Oof. I can't think of a better place to stop. Can you walk a straight line?
Wanda's eyes widened, a visible wave of empathy washing over her features as Black Widow confirmed the warrior's story. The mention of forced experimentation and genetic manipulation struck a deep chord within her, echoing her own traumatic past.
Yeah.
Oh, those poor children, she murmured, her voice filled with genuine sorrow. Her gaze softened as she looked at the three teenagers, who stood huddled together, their initial defiance now replaced by a fragile hope mixed with lingering fear. No one should have to endure such horror simply for being born different. Her hands began to glow with a faint, comforting crimson light, a silent offer of solace and protection. The revelation of Cadmus Genesis and their cruel actions had clearly moved her.
Don't actually.
I just wish you'd talk to me.
Wait, Mom, how did you even get here? You didn't take my crappy old car, did you?
I had to. There's...
Mom, I can't be seen in that thing.
You have bigger things to worry about than being seen in a crappy car.
Like what?
Your aunt rushed to the party? It went viral. And so did your arrest video. Honey,
Black Panther nodded, his gaze fixed on the warrior. I understand, he said, his voice measured. But we cannot simply release them back into the world, not without knowing their true nature and the extent of their powers. We have a duty to protect our people, and that includes protecting them from those who might pose a threat, regardless of their origins. He paused, his eyes shifting to the three teenagers, who stood huddled together, their faces a mixture of fear and defiance. However, he continued, I believe we can find a way to help them, a way to ensure their safety and prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. He turned to Black Widow, who was still analyzing the data chip. Natasha, once you've deciphered that information, perhaps we can find a safe haven for them. A place where they can learn to control their abilities, a place where they won't be hunted. The grass-clad warrior, sensing a glimmer of hope, nodded. We must act quickly, she warned, her voice low. Cadmus Genesis will not stop until they have them all under their control. If we can provide them with protection, with guidance, they can learn to harness their powers for good, not evil. The Avengers stood in silence for a moment, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on them. They had faced many threats, but this one was different. It was a threat to the innocent, a threat to those who had been wronged and feared simply for being different. They were not just superheroes, they were protectors, and they had a duty to act. Black Panther took a deep breath. We will find a way, he declared, his voice firm and resolute. We will protect these children, and we will bring Cadmus Genesis to justice.
when I got pregnant with you, he began a business that took off. Then, it changed. He had no regard for other people and only cared about flaunting his wealth and to prove he was somebody. But I always told him I would love him, rich or poor. I guess he didn't feel the same way because the day I got, he treated me horribly.
You are absolutely right. My apologies. In my focus on Black Panther's decision-making, I completely overlooked Wanda's immediate reaction to the confirmation of the teenager's plight. Let's rewind a touch. After Black Widow confirmed the existence and actions of Cadmus Genesis, and Wanda expressed her empathy for the teenagers, Black Panther turned to her directly. Wanda, he said, his voice carrying a note of understanding for her feelings. I know your own experiences make this situation particularly resonant for you. However, we must proceed with caution. But, he continued, his gaze softening slightly as he looked at the three young people, I trust your judgment in matters of the heart. If you believe they deserve our immediate protection. He paused, then gave a decisive nod. Wanda, free them.
I never told you any of this before because I figured that if you knew who could have helped us and chose not to, you'd become angry, hateful.
A wave of relief washed over Wanda's face at Black Panther's words. Her eyes glowed with a soft crimson light as she extended her hands towards the three teenagers. With a gentle flick of her wrists, the residual energy dampening their powers dissipated completely. You are free, she said softly, her voice filled with compassion. She took a step towards them, her expression open and non-threatening. No one will hurt you here. We want to help you. Her gaze then turned to the grass-clad warrior, a silent acknowledgement of the trust she had placed in them.
You're struggling now more than ever. Look around you. It has nothing to do with money.
Oh.
The three teenagers exchanged wary glances. The sudden release from the power-dampening field, coupled with Wanda's gentle words, seemed to catch them off guard. Lyra, the blue-haired girl, was the first to speak, her voice still carrying a hint of the defiance they had shown earlier, but now tinged with uncertainty. Free? She repeated, her eyes darting between the Avengers, particularly the Hulk and Black Panther. What's the catch? Kai, the boy with windswept brown hair, remained silent for a moment, his gaze fixed on Wanda. He then looked at the grass-clad warrior, a silent question in his eyes. Ilara, the green-eyed girl, also hesitated. She clutched her arms to her chest, her expression a mixture of suspicion and a flicker of hope. You're not going to take us? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. The years of being hunted and experimented on had clearly left deep scars.
Your boy replies too, dude.
I guess I was always jealous. Jealous of me? Yes, jealous of you. Remember that time I was in the hospital because I was sick? I saw you with the volleyball team and how close you guys were. The kids loved you.
Heart.
Fought the team. And on top of that, when you were getting lunch, close your eyes on that bed. And I guess I was
Well, I can't all of them get his way.
You are absolutely right. My apologies for the error in attributing the responses. Let's correct that. The three teenagers exchanged wary glances. The sudden release from the power-dampening field, coupled with Wanda's gentle words, seemed to catch them off guard. Kai, the boy with windswept brown hair, was the first to speak, his voice filled with a hesitant skepticism. Free? He repeated, his eyes darting between the imposing figures of the Avengers. After we attacked you? Why? Lyra, the blue-haired girl, remained silent for a moment, her gaze fixed on Black Panther, a flicker of defiance still lingering in her dark blue eyes. Ilara, the green-eyed girl, also hesitated. She clutched her arms to her chest, her expression...
forget the coffee. Next time. We should have made some notes. You? I spoke with your mother and she sent me a picture. Couldn't wait to meet you. I've been driving all along this road trying to find you. When my mom told me that she reached out to you before, you've been wanting me to look at you. Come here. That was before I found out you were famous. All my friends' kids know your name. I keep telling them.
Gemini, you got it. Come on, buddy.
You are absolutely correct. All three teenagers respond in this moment of unexpected freedom and the Avengers' seemingly sudden change of heart. Let's capture their individual reactions. The three teenagers exchanged wary glances, the sudden release from the power-dampening field and Wanda's gentle words creating a palpable sense of disbelief. Lyra, the blue-haired girl, stepped forward, her dark blue eyes narrowed with suspicion as she scanned the assembled Avengers. Why? She demanded, her voice sharp with ingrained distrust. We attacked you. We blasted you. Why would you suddenly just let us go? Kai, the boy with windswept brown hair, shifted his weight nervously, his gaze darting between the heroes, particularly the imposing figure of the Hulk. Yeah, he echoed Lyra, a tremor of apprehension in his voice. What's the catch? What do you want from us? Ilara, the green-eyed girl, still clutching her arms tightly to her chest, spoke softly, her voice barely a whisper, her gaze fixed on Wanda. Are you like her? She asked, glancing at the grass-clad warrior, a fragile flicker of hope battling the deep-seated fear in her eyes. Are you going to help us?
The choices you make next and your success or your story. Maybe.
Wanda took another step closer to the teenagers, her expression gentle and reassuring. We're not like the people who hunted you, she said softly, her crimson eyes filled with empathy. We understand what it's like to be feared for what you are, for powers you didn't ask for. She paused, her gaze sweeping over each of them. We want to offer you sanctuary, a place where you can be safe and learn to control your abilities without fear. She looked at Alara, her voice particularly tender. Yes, child, we want to help you.
Alrighty. We'll continue this story, guys. I'm gonna turn up my phone and stuff like that. So, subscribe. We'll continue it, of course. It'll be it will get continued. Don't you worry.
The air remained thick with unspoken tension, the teenagers still visibly wary despite Wanda's reassuring words. The Avengers, for their part, stood their ground, allowing Wanda to take the lead in this delicate parley. Black Panther observed the interaction with a thoughtful expression. He understood the deep-seated fear in the teenager's eyes. It mirrored the mistrust his own people had often faced. He remained ready to intervene if the situation escalated, but for now, he allowed empathy to guide their approach. Black Widow, ever pragmatic, kept her gaze fixed on the teenagers, her mind already calculating the logistics of providing them with safe harbor and the potential threats Cadmus Genesis still posed. The data chip she held was a crucial piece of the puzzle, but trust would need to be earned. Hulk, surprisingly subdued, simply watched the exchange, his massive frame a silent presence. The warrior's explanation and Wanda's compassion seemed to have resonated with him, quieting his usual aggression. Hawkeye kept his bow lowered but remained alert, his eyes scanning their surroundings for any sign of further threats. The arrival of the grass-clad warrior and the revelation of Cadmus Genesis had made it clear that this situation was far from over. Ms. Marvel, her youthful enthusiasm tempered by the recent conflict, looked at the teenagers with a mixture of curiosity and concern. She remembered her own initial struggles with her powers and felt a pang of sympathy for their plight. The grass-clad warrior watched the exchange with a hopeful yet anxious expression, her freedom and the safety of the children hanging in the balance of this fragile truce. The next word spoken would be crucial in determining the course of action and the fate of these newly revealed individuals.
Continue going on.
A tense silence hung in the air, the teenagers still processing Wanda's offer. Lyra's skeptical gaze flickered between Wanda and the other Avengers, as if searching for a hidden motive. Kai remained slightly behind her, his hands twitching as if instinctively ready to summon a gust of wind, despite his lack of powers. Alara continued to clutch herself, her eyes wide and filled with a deep-seated fear that wouldn't dissipate easily. The grass-clad warrior took a small step forward, her bound legs making the movement awkward. "They speak the truth," she said, her voice carrying a quiet conviction. "These are not the kind of people who would cage you or hurt you for what you are. I have seen their strength, but I have also sensed their compassion." She looked at the teenagers, her green eyes pleading. "Please, trust them. They can help us." The weight of the moment settled upon the group. The Avengers, powerful and often feared themselves, were offering refuge to individuals who had just attacked them. The teenagers, hardened by a life on the run and the trauma of captivity, were struggling to believe in this sudden shift of fortune. The next move would determine whether a fragile alliance could be forged, or if mistrust would lead to further conflict. The setting sun cast long shadows across the street, painting the scene in hues of orange and deepening the sense of uncertainty.
Yeah. Go on more. Don't stop, bro. Don't keep stopping, Gemini. Go on, more and more. You gotta get the story ready.
The silence stretched, punctuated only by the distant sirens of emergency services finally approaching the scene. The weight of the grass-clad warrior's plea hung in the air. Kai finally broke the silence, his voice still laced with apprehension. "But what would we do?" he asked, his gaze shifting from the Avengers to the damaged street and the crumpled car. "We don't know how to not run." Lyra remained more guarded, her arms crossed over her chest. "And what about those Cadmus Genesis's people?" she challenged, her eyes sharp. "If they're as bad as she says, won't they just come after us here?" Alara took a hesitant step forward, her gaze still fixed on Wanda. Would you teach us?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "To control it? So we don't hurt anyone?" The fear of her own powers seemed to weigh heavily on her. The Avengers absorbed their questions, each member considering the implications of taking these young, powerful, and traumatized individuals under their wing. The fight had ended, but a new, more complex challenge had just begun. The promise of sanctuary was offered, but the path to trust and safety was still uncertain.
Make it super long. Okay. Make it long, dude. Make it super long. Like, generally the longest story you ever did. Like, so long. Like, longest
The
story.
questions hung in the air, each one a testament to the deep-seated fear and uncertainty that Cadmus Genesis had instilled in these young lives. Wanda stepped closer, her expression radiating warmth and sincerity. You would be safe, she assured Kai, her voice gentle but firm. Here, you wouldn't have to run anymore.
Right.
We have resources, secure locations, places where you can finally rest and not have to look over your shoulder every moment. Black Panther stepped forward,
Right.
his regal presence commanding attention without being intimidating. As for Cadmus Genesis, he addressed Lyra, his voice resonating with authority. If they are indeed the threat the warrior describes, then they will have to contend with the Avengers. We have faced organizations far more formidable, and we will not allow them to harm innocents under our protection. We will investigate this Cadmus Genesis, uncover their operations, and ensure they are stopped. His gaze held a steely resolve that spoke volumes of his commitment. Elara's quiet plea tugged at Ms. Marvel's heart. Kamala stepped forward, a genuine smile on her face. And yes, Elara, she said, her voice bright and encouraging, we absolutely want to help you learn. I had to figure out my own powers, and, trust me, it can be scary at first. But you wouldn't be alone. We have people who can help you understand your abilities, to control them, to use them for good. You don't have to be afraid of what you can do. The Hulk even offered a rare moment of understanding. He lumbered slightly closer, his massive green form surprisingly non-threatening in this context. Scared is bad, he rumbled, his voice softer than usual. Learn to be strong. Friends help. Black Widow, ever practical, chimed in. Beyond training, we can offer you a support system. You've been through trauma. We have resources to help you heal, both physically and emotionally.
Thank you, Widow.
This wouldn't just be a place to learn about your powers. It would be a place to rebuild your lives. Hawkeye nodded in agreement. Think of it as a new start, he offered, a hint of a smile on his usually wry face. A chance to finally be kids, without having to worry about who's coming after you next. The grass-clad warrior watched the exchange, a profound sense of relief washing over her features. For the first time in a long time, she felt a glimmer of hope for the future of these children she had sworn to protect. The battle was over, but the journey to safety and trust had just begun. The Avengers, despite their initial conflict, were extending a hand, offering a sanctuary that had seemed impossible just moments before. The long shadows of the setting sun seemed to hold a promise of a new dawn. The sirens grew louder, a reminder of the world outside their immediate circle, a world that might still pose a threat, but for now, within this group of heroes and hunted, a fragile seed of hope had been planted. The next few moments would be crucial in determining if that seed would take root.
Yeah. Yep. Go on, dude. Don't stop. Okay. Go on. Don't stop, dude. Go on. Keep going. Keep going. Wait, don't stop. Oh, story ready?
The teenagers stood in a tight huddle, their eyes darting between the earnest faces of the Avengers. The sheer sincerity in Wanda's voice, the quiet authority in Black Panther's, the unexpected empathy from the Hulk, the reassuring words of Ms. Marvel, the pragmatic offer from Black Widow, and even the gentle encouragement from Hawkeye. It was a stark contrast to the fear and hostility they had come to expect. Lyra's defensive posture softened ever so slightly, her gaze lingering on Black Panther. The idea of facing down the relentless hunters of Cadmus Genesis with the backing of the Avengers was a powerful one. The weariness of constant flight was etched on her face, and the thought of finally having someone to fight for them, instead of just running, held a certain appeal. Kai's nervous energy seemed to dissipate a fraction. He looked at Wanda, then at Ms. Marvel, a flicker of curiosity replacing some of the apprehension. The idea of learning to control his wind powers, to not have them be a source of fear and instability, was enticing. He had accidentally hurt people before, and the guilt still lingered. Ilara's grip on herself loosened marginally. Wanda's direct address, the gentle promise of help, seemed to penetrate the wall of fear she had built around herself. The thought of not having to be afraid of her own lightning, of perhaps even using it for good, was a fragile seed of hope taking root in her heart. She glanced at the grass-clad warrior, seeking reassurance, a silent question in her green eyes. The warrior offered a small, encouraging nod, a silent testament to the trust she was beginning to place in these powerful individuals. She had fought for these children, but now, perhaps, They had found allies who could offer them a true chance at a future. The sound of the approaching sirens grew louder, a stark reminder of the outside world and the potential arrival of authorities who might not understand the complexities of the situation. Black Panther exchanged a look with Black Widow, a silent communication passing between them about the immediate need to secure the area and manage the narrative. The moment hung heavy with the weight of decision. The teenagers, battered and bruised both physically and emotionally, stood at a crossroads. Would they dare to trust these powerful strangers who had initially been their adversaries? Could they let go of the ingrained instinct to run and embrace the possibility of sanctuary and belonging? The answer lay in the fragile trust that was slowly beginning to bloom in the aftermath of a chaotic battle. The next words, the next actions, would determine the path forward.
Okay. Continue. I knew that was coming. He gotta stop talking. He's starting to irritate me. Not Gemini, the person on TV.
The air crackled with anticipation. Lyra took a hesitant step forward, her defiant stance softening ever so slightly. "So, you're not gonna lock us up?" she asked, her voice still laced with a thread of disbelief. Kai swallowed hard, his gaze flickering between the Hulk's immense form and Wanda's gentle eyes. "And you really think you can protect us from those people?" The fear in his voice was palpable. Ilara took another small step, her gaze still fixed on Wanda, a fragile hope flickering in her green eyes. If we stay, will you help us understand what we can do?" Wanda offered a reassuring smile. "No, we are not going to lock you up. You acted out of fear, and we understand that now. We want to offer you a home, not a prison." Black Panther stepped forward, his voice firm and resolute. "And yes, we will protect you from Cadmus Genesis. We have faced threats far greater than this organization, and we will not stand by while innocents are hunted. You will be under the protection of the Avengers." Ms. Marvel beamed at Ilara. "Absolutely. We'll help you figure everything out. It might be a little scary at first, but you won't be alone. We'll be there every step of the way." The grass-clad warrior let out a soft sigh of relief, a weight visibly lifting from her shoulders. She looked at the teenagers with a gentle encouragement. "They speak the truth, children. This is a chance for safety, a chance for a future." The sound of sirens grew closer, and Black Widow spoke, her voice practical. "We need to move quickly. The authorities will be here soon, and we need to control the narrative. We'll take you somewhere safe, somewhere we can properly discuss everything." A collective breath seemed to pass through the group. The teenagers, still wary but with a glimmer of hope in their eyes, exchanged uncertain glances. The Avengers stood ready to offer their protection. The immediate conflict was over, and a new chapter, filled with both uncertainty and possibility, was about to begin.
Yeah.
The long shadows of the setting sun seemed to stretch towards a future that, for the first time in a long time for these hunted youngsters, held a flicker of light.
Okay. Don't do that ever again. What? No. They're reviving it. No, I did that wrong. 'Cause I spelled that wrong. I really did.
"5 months had passed since the chaotic clash in the streets of New York. The three teenagers, Lyra, Kai, and Alara, had found a semblance of stability under the watchful eyes of the Avengers. They had begun to understand their powers, guided by Wanda, Ms. Marvel, and even the occasional patient instruction from the more stoic heroes. A fragile trust had blossomed, replacing the initial fear and hostility. However, the threat of Cadmus Genesis had always loomed in the background, a silent promise of future conflict. Black Widow's initial analysis of the data chip had provided valuable intel, but the organization remained elusive, their network vast, and their methods shadowy. The Avengers had been vigilant, but Cadmus Genesis had remained out of sight, seemingly biding their time. Until now, a series of coordinated, subtle disruptions began to ripple through New York City. Unexplained power outages in specific sectors, unusual sensor readings in secure Avengers facilities, and whispers of unfamiliar, heavily armed individuals operating on the fringes. Black Widow, ever vigilant, pieced together the fragmented information with grim certainty. "They're here," she announced one evening in the Avengers Tower, her voice low and serious as she displayed holographic projections of surveillance footage. The images showed figures in sleek, black tactical gear, bearing a distinct insignia that matched a barely visible mark found within the Cadmus Genesis data. They moved with a chilling efficiency, their weapons advanced and unfamiliar. "They're not making a direct assault," she continued, zooming in on a map of the city highlighting areas of increased activity. "They're being methodical, probing, likely gathering intelligence on our defenses and the location of the enhanced individuals." The air in the room grew heavy. The fragile peace they had established was about to be shattered. The hunt had resumed, and this time, Cadmus Genesis was on their doorstep. The Avengers knew that the relative calm of the past 5 months was merely the eye of the storm, and a confrontation was now inevitable. The fight for the safety of Lyra, Kai, and Alara was about to begin anew, but this time, the battleground was their home.
Mm-hmm. I can spell a squirrel. Okay. Oh. No, don't do that.
So, you beat me, I'll buy you a new pair of shoes, and I'll leave. Yeah? Let's go, Benny. Let's go. Come on, guys. Let's go, Benny.
Oh my gosh.
Black Panther's voice was grave as he contacted Steve Rogers. "Captain, we have a situation. Cadmus Genesis is in New York. They are moving discreetly, but their presence is undeniable. We need your strategic mind and experience." Simultaneously, Ms. Marvel, her youthful energy now tinged with urgency, reached out to her allies. "Wasp, are you there? We need your aerial reconnaissance and agility." Things are about to get complicated. A moment later, she contacted another teammate. "Ant-Man, Scott, we need your ability to go small, to infiltrate. Cadmus Genesis is here, and they're not playing games." Finally, with a determined glint in her eye, she called upon a less conventional ally. "Squirrel Girl Doreen, your unique talents might be surprisingly useful. We need all hands on deck." As the calls went out, the Avengers Tower buzzed with a renewed sense of urgency. The fragile peace of the past 5 months had been shattered, and the looming threat of Cadmus Genesis had finally materialized. Lyra, Kai, and Ilara, who had begun to find a sense of belonging within the tower's walls, felt a familiar unease creeping back into their hearts.
Oh no.
The safe haven they had started to believe in was now under siege. Black Widow continued to monitor the Cadmus Genesis movements, her fingers flying across holographic interfaces, tracking their subtle incursions into the city's infrastructure. Scarlet Witch stood ready, her crimson energy, a visible manifestation of her protective instincts towards the three teenagers. The Hulk,
Hang on, y'all.
sensing the shift in atmosphere, let out a low growl, his immense form radiating a primal readiness for a fight. Hawkeye knocked an arrow, his gaze sharp and focused on the
We don't know
potential
where they
threats
at.
lurking in the shadows of the city. The Avengers were mobilizing, their diverse skills and powers coalescing into a unified front against the encroaching danger. The battle for New York, and for the safety of the three young individuals they had taken under their wing, was about to begin. The 5 months of relative calm had been a breath before the storm, and now, the storm had arrived.
Okay. Go on. Gemini, stop doing that and go on. Hurry up. Get on with the story, Gemini. Make it long.
Captain America's voice, steady and reassuring, echoed through Black Panther's comms. Understood, T'Challa. I'm en route. Give me your tactical assessment, and we'll coordinate a response. We won't let them touch those kids. Wasp's cheerful voice, now laced with a sense of urgency, chirped in Ms. Marvel's ear. Got it, Kamala. Wings are ready. Give me the coordinates, and I'll be your eyes in the sky. These creeps won't know what hit them. Ant-Man's slightly muffled voice followed shortly after. On my way. Just tell me where you need me to shrink and sneak. Those Cadmus Genesis guys sound like trouble, and I'm ready to stir up some ant-sized mayhem. Even Squirrel Girl's typically lighthearted tone held a note of serious determination. Doreen Green reporting for duty. Tippy Toe and I are locked and loaded, with acorns and fury. Nobody messes with our friends. As their allies mobilized, the core Avengers team in the tower began to formulate a plan. Black Panther, his strategic mind already racing, collaborated with Black Widow, whose intel was proving invaluable. Wanda kept a watchful eye on Lyra, Kai, and Alara, offering quiet words of reassurance while subtly projecting a protective magical aura around them. Their movements are precise, Black Widow observed, her fingers flying across the holographic displays. They're targeting key infrastructure points, likely trying to disrupt our communications and security systems before making a move on the kids. We can't let them get a foothold, Black Panther stated, his gaze firm. We need to intercept their teams before they can gather more intelligence or launch an attack.
Right.
The Hulk paced restlessly, his green fists clenching. Hulk smash bad guys, he growled, a simple but effective sentiment that echoed the team's resolve. Hawkeye stood ready, a quiver full of specialized arrows at his side. Just point me in the right direction, he said, his aim already steady in his mind. Ms. Marvel, buzzing with nervous energy, looked at Wanda. What about the kids? Should we move them to a more secure location?
Yeah, shall we?
Wanda nodded. It would be wise. Somewhere they can be safe while we deal with this threat. The Avengers were a well-oiled machine, their individual strengths complementing each other. The arrival of Cadmus Genesis had thrown their hard-won peace into jeopardy, but it had also galvanized their resolve to protect those under their care. The battle for New York, and for the future of Lyra, Kai, and Alara, was about to erupt.
Oh boy. Come on, come on, come on. Turn the radio on. Saturday night, I don't care. Oh, Joe.
A Quinjet, sleek and silent, descended towards Avengers Tower, Captain America at the helm. He landed smoothly on the designated platform, his shield gleaming under the city lights. Report, he said immediately, his gaze sweeping over the assembled team. Moments later, a tiny blur zipped through the air, Wasp growing to her normal size beside Ms. Marvel, her wings shimmering. Ready to sting, she declared, a determined glint in her eye. Ant-Man, having hitched a ride on Wasp, reappeared in human form, adjusting his helmet. Let's get small and find out what these guys are up to, he suggested, his voice serious. And then, with a flurry of bushy tails and a cheerful greeting,
Oh, boy.
Squirrel Girl bounded into the room, Tippy Toe chittering excitedly on her shoulder. Squirrel Power is here, she announced, a mischievous grin on her face. Tell us who needs a good nut-kicking. With their reinforcements assembled, the Avengers gathered to solidify their strategy. Black Widow's holographic displays became the focal point, showcasing the known movements of Cadmus Genesis operatives. They've established several small, dispersed teams throughout the city, she explained, pointing to highlighted zones. Their targets appear to be key infrastructure nodes, power grids, communication relays, and transportation hubs. It's a classic destabilization tactic, likely a prelude to a more direct assault. Captain
Okay.
America nodded, his strategic mind already at work. They want to sow chaos, weaken our defenses, and create an opportunity to snatch the kids.
Yeah.
We can't let that happen. We need to move swiftly and decisively to neutralize these teams before they can achieve their objectives. Black Panther concurred. We will divide into strike teams. Captain Rogers, you will lead the effort to secure the primary infrastructure targets. Wasp and Ant-Man, your agility and size-changing abilities will be crucial for infiltration and disruption. He turned to Ms. Marvel and Squirrel Girl. Kamala, Doreen, your knowledge of the city and your unpredictable approaches will be invaluable in tracking down any isolated cells. Be prepared for anything. Finally, he addressed the core team. Wanda, Hulk, Hawkeye, and I will focus on protecting Lyra, Kai, and Alara. We will establish a secure perimeter around their location and be ready to intercept any direct attempts to capture them. Black Widow would remain at the tower, coordinating their efforts, providing real-time intelligence, and acting as their central command. The Avengers were united, their resolve unwavering. The battle for New York had begun.
Yeah, I hope that's okay. Let's see. Oh, dude, it's fine, okay? And I'm sure she'll warm up to you once she gets to know how awesome you are. Okay? Right.
Thank you for getting the door for me.
Of course.
What?
Ouch.
Sorry, did I hear you?
We can need the firepower with Captain Marvel and I guess Tony.
As the teams began to mobilize, Black Widow's fingers continued to fly across her holographic interface. Knowing the gravity of the situation and the potential threat Cadmus Genesis posed, she reached out to two more crucial allies. Her first call went to Tony Stark. Tony, we have a code red. Cadmus Genesis is active in New York. They're organized and well-equipped. We need your tech, your firepower, and frankly, your brain. Suit up. Next, she contacted Carol Danvers, her message concise and urgent. Captain Marvel, this is Romanoff. We have a hostile organization on Earth, targeting enhanced individuals. Their capabilities are unknown, but their intent is clear. We need your cosmic awareness and your strength. Can you assist? With those calls made, Black Widow returned her full attention to coordinating the teams already in motion, her sharp gaze tracking their progress across the city map. The situation was escalating rapidly, and every available ally would be needed to counter the threat of Cadmus Genesis. The Avengers were a formidable force, but this new enemy was an unknown quantity, and underestimating them could have devastating consequences. The arrival of Iron Man and Captain Marvel could very well be the deciding factor in the coming conflict.
Don't you ever talk to anyone else or tell anyone that we are on a date ever again. Do you hear me?
Arkansas, wait for it.
Iron Man's familiar voice crackled over the comms almost immediately. Cadmus Genesis? Never heard of them, but if they're causing you trouble, Widow, consider me in. On my way, and I'm bringing the heavy artillery. The sound of repulsor jets igniting could be heard in the background. Captain Marvel's response took a moment longer, her voice strong and clear from what sounded like the vastness of space. Understood, Romanoff. Hostiles targeting enhanced individuals on Earth? That's my jurisdiction. I'm on my way. ETA. Sooner than they'll expect. A distinctive sonic boom echoed briefly through the comms. With Iron Man and Captain Marvel en route, the Avengers' forces were significantly bolstered.
Yeah.
The initial strike teams were already engaging with the scattered Cadmus Genesis operatives across the city. Captain America, leading a ground team including Hawkeye, moved with precision to secure key power grids. Hawkeye's specialized arrows disabled sophisticated tracking devices the enemy had planted, while Captain America's tactical prowess allowed them to efficiently neutralize small squads of black-clad agents. Wasp and Ant-Man utilized their size-changing abilities to infiltrate communication hubs, disrupting Cadmus Genesis's network from within. Wasp's stings incapacitated enemy technicians, while Ant-Man, in his giant form, created diversions to draw attention away from Wasp's stealthy maneuvers. Ms. Marvel and Squirrel Girl proved to be an unexpectedly effective duo. Ms. Marvel's elastic limbs allowed her to apprehend multiple agents simultaneously, while Squirrel Girl, with the help of her furry allies, overwhelmed smaller teams with sheer numbers and surprising agility. Tippy Toe's uncanny ability to find weaknesses proved invaluable in disarming opponents. Meanwhile, at Avengers Tower, Black Panther, Wanda, and the Hulk maintained a vigilant watch over Lyra, Kai, and Alara. Wanda's senses were heightened, her magic a subtle shield against any unseen threats. The Hulk remained a formidable deterrent, his massive presence a clear warning to any would-be intruders. Black Panther, his senses acute, monitored the citywide situation through Black Widow's intel, ready to deploy wherever needed. The first phase of the confrontation was underway, with the Avengers moving swiftly to dismantle Cadmus Genesis's initial infiltration efforts. However, they knew this was just the beginning. The true test would come when Cadmus Genesis revealed their larger plan and made their move for the three teenagers. The arrival of Iron Man and Captain Marvel signaled that the Avengers were prepared for a fight of any scale.
Go on, okay? It's a long story. It'll be a long part, y'all. At some point, the story going to end at some point. It'll be too long. We're like an 8-hour story, 8 hours and 45 minutes. No way. Or 8 hours and 6 minutes.
The initial strikes by the Avengers were swift and effective, disrupting Cadmus Genesis's carefully laid plans. Small teams of black-clad operatives, caught off guard by the coordinated response, were quickly apprehended or neutralized. The flow of information within Cadmus Genesis's network began to sputter as Wasp and Ant-Man wreaked havoc on their communication relays. The subtle disruptions to the city's infrastructure ceased. However, Black Widow's analysis indicated that these were merely the first wave. They're regrouping, she warned the team through their comms. Their main force is still unaccounted for. They were likely testing our defenses, identifying our key players. Suddenly, Iron Man's voice boomed through the comms, accompanied by the unmistakable roar of his repulsor jets. All right, team, Shellhead's in the building. What's the target? Lead the way to these Genesis goons. He landed with a metallic thud on a nearby rooftop, his suit gleaming, ready for action. Moments later, a blinding flash of light streaked across the sky, followed by a thunderous boom as Captain Marvel entered Earth's atmosphere. She hovered briefly above the city, her eyes glowing with cosmic energy. Avengers, her voice resonated through the comms, carrying an otherworldly power. Point me to the threat. With their heavy hitters now on the scene, the Avengers' confidence surged. Captain America, having secured the power grids, regrouped with Iron Man. Tony, Carol, intel suggests they're after the enhanced individuals we've been protecting. They'll likely make a direct assault on their location. Then let's make sure they regret that decision. Iron Man quipped, his repulsors charging. Captain Marvel nodded grimly. Lead the way. I've dealt with organizations that thought they could control those with power. It never ends well for them. Back at Avengers Tower, Black Panther, sensing the shift in the enemy's strategy, tightened the security protocols around Lyra, Kai, and Alara. Wanda's magical barrier shimmered with increased intensity, and the Hulk stood like an immovable green mountain, his eyes narrowed with anticipation. The three teenagers, though still apprehensive, felt a surge of hope seeing the full might of the Avengers rallying to their defense. The true confrontation with Cadmus Genesis was about to begin.
Cyberpunk thing.
I guess you're right after all. Don't really realize what you have until it's gone. So, I was wondering, you're not seeing me when. So sorry I'm late. Hopefully you haven't been waiting too long.
No, you're totally fine. We just got here. Let's go find the team.
Hi. Are you...
Then she calls. Then she calls.
Oh, you have a new girlfriend.
I don't know. I hope this helps.
Heard me like, are you kidding me? No, I love Brandon. He's the best. He's so sweet. And
Just as the Avengers were bracing for Cadmus Genesis's main assault, Wanda, her brow furrowed with concern, reached out to two more key allies, sensing a deeper, more complex threat at play. Her first call was to Dr. Stephen Strange. The mystic arts might be necessary if Cadmus Genesis employed unconventional weaponry or tactics. Stephen, she said urgently, her voice tinged with a magical resonance. We have a situation in New York. A shadowy organization called Cadmus Genesis is targeting individuals with enhanced abilities. Their technology is advanced, and I sense a potential for more than just brute force. We may need your unique perspective and abilities.
Yeah.
Next, she contacted Nick Fury, the former director of S.H.I.E.L.D., whose network of contacts and knowledge of clandestine organizations was unparalleled. Fury, she stated, her tone direct and serious, a group calling themselves Cadmus Genesis has surfaced. They are highly organized, well-funded, and are actively hunting enhanced individuals. They operate in the shadows, and we need any information you might have on them, their history, their resources, their leadership. This feels bigger than just a simple attack. With those crucial calls made, Wanda rejoined Black Panther and the Hulk, her magical senses on high alert. The arrival of Doctor Strange and Nick Fury could provide the Avengers with the extra edge they needed to understand and ultimately defeat this enigmatic new enemy. The battle for New York was about to escalate, and the full spectrum of the Avengers' allies was now being brought to bear.
Yeah. Wow, we need to call white people too. Hang on, because I gotta add this. Me upset with fixing my grammar. Ugh, it irritates me, guys. I'm obsessed with fixing the grammar. I don't know why.
Even amidst the tense anticipation of Cadmus Genesis's next move, the Hulk, in his own unique way, decided to call for reinforcements. His methods were less conventional, but his intentions were clear: protect his friends. He let out a mighty roar that echoed through the comm system, a sound that was more of a primal bellow than a coherent message. Birdman. With wings, come help puny humans. It was clear he was trying to reach Sam Wilson. A moment later, he focused his considerable will, remembering the booming voice and the flash of lightning. Big Thunderman, friend of puny Banner. Come smash bad guys with Hulk. His mental call, though less direct, was undoubtedly aimed at Thor. While these unconventional summons went out, Doctor Strange's astral form shimmered into existence within Avengers Tower. Wanda, he said, his voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of concern. I sensed a disturbance in the fabric of reality, a subtle ripple that suggests more than just terrestrial threats. Tell me what you have learned of this Cadmus Genesis. Simultaneously, a secure, encrypted message appeared on Black Widow's holographic display. It was from Nick Fury. The message contained a series of heavily redacted files, organizational charts with question marks, and a single, chilling sentence. Cadmus Genesis. They've been off the grid for decades. Proceed with extreme caution. The arrival of Doctor Strange and the cryptic warning from Nick Fury added a new layer of complexity to the situation. And somewhere out there, in the skies above or perhaps even beyond, Falcon and Thor might be answering the Hulk's unusual call for aid. The Avengers were bracing for a fight, but the scope of the conflict and the true nature of their enemy was still shrouded in mystery.
You know, I will give him a call and tell him you're on the way.
Okay.
What was your name?
Sandra.
Sandra. My name's Devin.
Oh, pleased to meet you, Devin. Look, Devin, I really hate to bother you, but I'm not good with directions. So you think I could follow you just to be safe?
Go, 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 go. Okay.
A streak of lightning split the sky above New York, followed by the thunderous arrival of Thor, his hammer Mjolnir crackling with celestial energy as he landed on a nearby skyscraper. Avengers! His booming voice echoed across the city. The mighty Thor Odinson has answered your call. Where are these villains who dare threaten Midgard's protectors? Moments later, Falcon, his sleek wingsuit cutting through the air with practiced precision, soared into view, landing gracefully beside Captain America and Iron Man. Cap, Tony, he greeted them, his voice calm and focused. Heard you had some trouble brewing. Happy to lend a wing. With Thor and Falcon's arrival, the assembled might of the Avengers and their allies was truly formidable. Doctor Strange, having quickly grasped the situation from Wanda, stood ready, his hands weaving intricate magical patterns. Nick Fury's cryptic warning hung in the air, a reminder of the unknown dangers they faced. Thor, Falcon, Captain America addressed them, his gaze resolute. We're dealing with a highly organized group called Cadmus Genesis. They're targeting enhanced individuals, including 3 young people we're protecting. They've infiltrated the city, and we believe they're about to make a major move.
Yeah.
Iron Man, his repulsors humming, added, they're sneaky too. Black Widow's intel suggests they're using advanced tech. Stay sharp. Falcon nodded, his eyes scanning the cityscape. Got it. Air support is locked and loaded. Thor hefted Mjolnir, a fierce grin spreading across his face. Then let us meet these villains head on. For the safety of Midgard, and for these young ones under your protection, the stage was set. The Avengers, now at their full strength, were ready to confront Cadmus Genesis. The battle for New York was about to reach its climax. The fate of Lyra, Kai, and Alara, and perhaps the safety of the entire city, hung in the balance. The storm had well and truly arrived, and the heroes stood ready to weather it.
Let's see, Iron Man.
Well, it's your lucky day. Devin here reminded me that I am a favor. He wants to use it to help you out. I'll have a repair sale by tomorrow. I'll only charge you $4,000. Does that work?
Wolverine. Stop doing that.
I love that. You know, you really do remind me of my grandma before her accident. So I just had to. And plus, this helps out Amir because he's looking to propose soon. And he still needs to buy her.
The X. Man. Okay.
And it's a funny thing. The girl actually wants a 2-carat ring. Right. So I'm having to work overtime to make that happen.
Even as the assembled Avengers and their allies prepared for the inevitable clash with Cadmus Genesis, Iron Man, ever the resourceful strategist, decided to further bolster their ranks with some unexpected reinforcements. Recognizing the unique power sets and combat prowess of the X-Men, he initiated a series of urgent calls. His first call went out on a secure channel to Aurora Monroe. Storm, this is Tony Stark. We have a serious situation unfolding in New York, a highly organized and dangerous group targeting enhanced individuals. Your control over the elements could be invaluable. Can you lend us your assistance? Next, he contacted James Howlett. Wolverine, this is Stark. We've got hostiles in Manhattan, nasty ones. Your particular set of skills and resilience would be a significant asset. Need your claws in this fight. Finally, he reached out to Bobby Drake. Iceman, Stark here. Things are about to get frosty in New York. Your ability to manipulate ice could give us a crucial edge. Can you make your way here ASAP? With these calls placed, Iron Man rejoined the main group, a confident smirk on his face beneath his helmet. Just added a little extra firepower to the party, he announced. Figured a few mutants might spice things up. The arrival of Storm, Wolverine, and Iceman, if they answered the call, would add another layer of formidable power to the already impressive lineup of heroes ready to defend New York and the 3 young individuals under their protection. The confrontation with Cadmus Genesis was about to become a truly multifaceted and potentially overwhelming response.
Okay. Oh, get off of that.
The comms crackled with responses to Iron Man's calls. Storm's regal voice echoed through the line. Stark, your urgency is noted. The elements are mine to command, and I will stand with those who protect the innocent. I am en route. The sounds of wind and thunder could be faintly heard in the background. Wolverine's gruff voice followed, laced with a hint of reluctant agreement. Stark, enhanced kids, you say? And bad guys hunting them? Fine. Consider my claws your problem solvers. Just point me at the ones who need a good shredding. The snick of his extending claws was unmistakable. Iceman's cooler tone came through next. Stark, yeah, I can make it. Sounds like these guys need to chill out. I'm on my way to give them a cold reception. The faint sound of ice forming could be detected. A collective murmur of surprise and grim satisfaction rippled through the assembled Avengers and their allies. The arrival of these powerful mutants would indeed tip the scales further in their favor. Well, Iron Man quipped, a grin evident in his voice. Looks like our little welcoming committee just got a whole lot more interesting. Captain America nodded, his expression serious. Every ally counts. We need to coordinate their arrival and integrate their abilities into our strategy. Black Panther, ever the tactician, began to adjust their plans. Storm's aerial control and elemental powers can provide invaluable support. Wolverine's tracking skills and ferocity in close combat will be essential. Iceman's ability to control temperature and create ice structures offers both offensive and defensive capabilities. As they discussed how best to utilize their new allies, the tension in the air remained palpable. They knew Cadmus Genesis was still out there, their main force yet to be revealed. The arrival of the X-Men was a significant boost, but the true battle was still to come. The combined might of mutants and metahumans stood ready to defend New York and the young lives under their protection. The stage was set for a confrontation of epic proportions.
You know what, I'll just call my husband and tell him about it. It'll be fine.
Let's go. Is your husband a mechanic?
Go on.
No,
What? Oh, because okay, they got to ride first, then
so I'll just take the car to him.
and then okay.
A swirling vortex of wind appeared high above the city, and Storm descended majestically, her white hair flowing around her as lightning crackled at her fingertips. She landed gracefully beside Thor, her eyes glowing with elemental power. "The X-Men stand with you," she declared, her voice carrying the authority of the elements. Moments later, a black streak moved rapidly through the air, landing with a thud as Wolverine materialized, his adamantium claws snicking out with lethal precision. He stood beside Captain America, his gaze narrowed and feral. "Point him out," he growled, his voice low and dangerous. Finally, a figure slid across the ground on a wave of ice, solidifying into Iceman, who stood radiating a palpable chill. He joined Iron Man, a wry smile on his face. "Ready to make some ice sculptures," he quipped, his hands already beginning to frost over. The arrival of the three X-Men completed the impressive assembly of heroes. The Avengers, their allies, and now a trio of powerful mutants stood united, a formidable line of defense against the unknown might of Cadmus Genesis. "Welcome," Captain America said, his voice filled with determination. "We appreciate you answering our call." "Let's cut the pleasantries," Wolverine interjected, his patience already wearing thin. "Where are these creeps?" Iron Man gestured towards the city. "Black Widow's tracking their movements. We believe they're consolidating for a major push, likely targeting the kids at Avengers Tower. Then that's where we make our stand," Black Panther declared, his voice resolute. "We will not let them breach our defenses."
Let's
The
go.
heroes turned their attention towards Avengers Tower, a beacon of hope and the last line of defense for Lyra, Kai, and Alara. The air crackled with anticipation, the calm before the storm. The full force of Cadmus Genesis was yet to be revealed, but the combined might of these extraordinary individuals stood ready to meet them head-on. The fate of the three teenagers, and perhaps the city itself, hung in the balance. The final confrontation was imminent.
Stand-up guy. I could introduce you if you like.
Sure.
Maybe get you friends and family instead.
Wow. Are you okay. Can I follow you there?
Yeah, perfect. I will go my car then you
A sudden, deafening roar ripped through the night as the ground around Avengers Tower began to tremble. From the shadows of the surrounding skyscrapers, sleek black vehicles, unlike anything the heroes had encountered before, emerged, their weapons systems glowing ominously. Simultaneously, heavily armored figures rappelled down the sides of buildings, their movements coordinated and swift. "Here they come," Black Widow's voice crackled through the comms, her tone grim. "Multiple ground teams, armored vehicles. They're hitting us hard and fast." The Avengers and their allies sprang into action. Iron Man and Captain Marvel took to the skies, blasting the approaching vehicles with repulsor rays and cosmic energy, respectively. Explosions rocked the streets as the advanced Cadmus Genesis weaponry met their formidable power. Thor, with a mighty swing of Mjolnir, unleashed bolts of lightning that tore through the ranks of the armored figures, while Storm conjured hurricane-force winds that buffeted the enemy, disrupting their formations and tearing debris from the surrounding buildings. Wolverine and the Hulk charged headfirst into the ground assault, a whirlwind of claws and brute strength. Wolverine's adamantium blades sliced through armor like butter, while the Hulk smashed vehicles and sent enemies flying with thunderous blows.
Right.
Captain America, Falcon, and Black Panther coordinated their ground defense. Captain America's shield deflecting energy blasts, Falcon providing aerial support and reconnaissance, and Black Panther's agility and vibranium suit allowing him to expertly take down multiple threats. Iceman created massive ice walls to block the advance of the vehicles, then unleashed freezing blasts that encased the enemy in solid ice. Squirrel Girl, with her army of squirrels, swarmed the enemy, creating chaos and exploiting any weaknesses in their armor. Inside Avengers Tower, Wanda and Doctor Strange stood guard over Lyra, Kai, and Alara. Wanda's crimson energy swirled around them, a potent shield against any incoming attacks, while Doctor Strange wove intricate magical barriers and prepared counterspells. The battle for New York had truly begun, a chaotic maelstrom of superhuman abilities clashing against advanced technology and relentless aggression. The fate of the three teenagers and the ability of the Avengers to defend their city hung precariously in the balance. The night was alive with the sounds of explosions, thunder, wind, and the snarls of a desperate fight.
So,
6 grueling hours later, the dust settled over a battered but not broken New York City. The relentless assault of Cadmus Genesis had finally been repelled. The combined might of the Avengers, their allies, and the X-Men had proven too formidable for the shadowy organization.
That's a lot.
The streets around Avengers Tower were scarred with energy blasts, littered with the wreckage of advanced vehicles, and frozen in patches of Iceman's formidable ice. The air still crackled with residual energy and the scent of ozone. One by one, the heroes stood amidst the aftermath,
tired.
weary but resolute. Iron Man, his armor bearing numerous scorch marks, hovered above, surveying the scene. Captain Marvel, her uniform slightly singed, landed beside Captain America, who leaned heavily on his shield, his face grim but victorious. Thor, his hammer still humming with power, stood alongside Storm, who had calmed the tempest she had unleashed, a serene but powerful presence. Wolverine, his claws retracted but still stained, stood beside a panting Hulk who was slowly reverting to Bruce Banner. Falcon circled overhead,
boy.
providing a final aerial sweep, while Wasp and Ant-Man, now at normal size, assisted Squirrel Girl in rounding up any remaining Cadmus Genesis operatives who had tried to blend into the chaos. Doctor Strange, his robe slightly askew, lowered his mystical barriers around Avengers Tower, the magical energy dissipating into the night air. Inside the tower, Wanda knelt beside Lyra, Kai, and Alara, who were shaken but unharmed, a protective crimson aura still lingering around them. Black Panther stood vigilantly nearby, his senses still on high alert. The victory had come at a cost. The city had endured significant damage, and the heroes were exhausted. But Cadmus Genesis had been defeated, their forces routed or captured. The immediate threat to the 3 teenagers, and to New York, had been neutralized. As the first rays of dawn began to paint the eastern sky, casting a pale light over the ravaged cityscape,
Woohoo!
a weary but relieved silence fell over the victorious heroes.
Right.
They had faced a powerful and enigmatic enemy and emerged triumphant, their bonds of camaraderie and their unwavering commitment to protect the innocent having seen them through the long and brutal night. The fight was over, but the work of rebuilding and understanding the true nature of Cadmus Genesis was just beginning.
I'm selling my ring suit. And I'm going to get the cash for it. Yeah.
Help me.
Supposedly appraised for much higher, but I'm gonna sell it quickly and probably get at least 15. Could you keep my car just a couple more days and I'll pay you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I may have an even better idea.
Oh yeah?
You are most welcome. It was a blast helping you bring this story to life. Those emojis look delicious. Enjoy. If you ever want to continue the adventure or brainstorm something new, just let me know.
It actually makes sense.
I
Save you time for
will what? No.
$6 meal deal. It's a big deal. You get iced or hot coffee, sausage, egg, and cheese, and 6 toasted hash browns. It's the biggest deal in breakfast. It's a $6 meal deal.
Another. Jeez Louise, I got a lot to type in.
Sounds great. I'll be here, ready whenever your next story idea sparks. Just give me a shout, and we'll dive in. Looking forward to it.
Yep. Thanks. Again.
You got it. My pleasure. Have a fantastic rest of your day there in Mansfield, Ohio.
Okay, bye guys. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel. Have a good day, y'all.